Anyway, guys, I was hoping that Brian would be here by the time we got to this, but again, he's dealing with a sick kid, so it's a little bit hard.
Doesn't
But
he have a wife? Why can't the wife watch the kid?
well, you know his relationship with his wife.
I mean, everybody was thinking it.
I mean,
She's queer anyway, isn't
come
he?
on.
But I want to talk a little bit about how Hollywood hates its fans within the confines of a Star Trek story. So, guys, there was an amazing short film that was released this last week. It was called Unification, and it's a silent film, right? There's no dialogue spoken in it, but it's William Shatner reprising his role as Captain Kirk, de-aged, right? From the movie time frames, in addition to a young Captain Kirk played by Sam Witwer.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, and Sam Witwer is an amazing actor, but he really nailed it with his portrayal of Kirk. I mean, they use some CGI stuff, but this is the story of Kirk after generations, having passed into wherever, and then him visiting Spock in his last moments of life and comforting his friend as they both move into the afterlife together. And it's symbolic in ways that I have a hard time breaking down. But at the same time, I was watching this and I had heard about it on X, and I was like, I'll watch it. Dude, I started tearing up as I watched this. This was such an emotionally powerful short film that if you have any love left in your heart for Star Trek, it's going to fucking trigger you in a good way. And as I was sitting here watching this, I came across, I started thinking about this other thread that I found on X that kind of contrasts what I experienced watching Unification, which is this thing where Anson Mount comes out and basically tells half of America to F off. And he says, I will brainwash your children into transgenderism. And this is the main character of Strange New Worlds, right? Like the new captain. This is Kurtzman Trek versus original Trek. And when I was looking at Unification and seeing just how emotional it was and how good the special effects were, I was like, why can't Paramount do stuff like this for Star Trek? Why do they keep going down this J.J. Abrams, Alex Kurtzman road that nobody likes and people have resoundingly rejected based off of all this stuff that, the Star Trek fandom is basically dead, right? And the only kind of shining light was briefly Star Trek Picard season 3, which Gary, I know that, you and Terry Metalis were kind of buddy around that time, but he seems to kind of have left the reservation now that he doesn't need you anymore. But I'd like to get your take on this, Gary, because I know Drinker put out a really wonderful video about it. I'm not crying, you're crying type thing. But when I watched this, it just reminded me of my true love of why I started liking Star Trek to begin with, which is that it's hopeful in a weird way. And I miss that from, our franchises that's, all about propaganda as opposed to the actual human spirit of it. So I want to get your take on this.
Okay, we'll start with Unification. It was beautiful, dude. We watched it on Real BBC. I had watched it the night before. I saw Robert Meyer Burnett's live stream on it, kind of filling in stuff that I didn't even. God, they put so many deep cuts, including Star Trek, the Early Voyages, a comic series I never even read from Paramount, which I bought on eBay. They drew from that. The Nexus, Gary Mitchell shows up. We have Savick, Spock's son, and I didn't even, there's more people in the crowd. Witwer has Shatner's face on. It is not CGI. He has a prosthetic Shatner face. There's a picture of it that they shown. They threw in Terry Metalis' Kirk from Picard season 3 because they had the body and the DNA. Just point out, I still talk to Terry. I do. Terry and I stay in contact. I love Picard season 3. He's off doing other things because Kurtzman didn't want him around anymore. So he got plucked by somebody else. Kurtzman's a freaking idiot. By the way, the reason this video is unlisted is because Paramount will not allow them to make it public. So they can share the unlisted link, which is, I guess, nice. But they can't share the public link for dangers of monetization. Although
Which is weird because I guess they worked with Paramount because somebody
They
from
did.
the toy showed up in my chat the other night too and was telling us this. So yeah.
So Terry was involved with this a little bit. Kevin Feige was involved with this. Alex Ross was involved with this. A bunch of people who used to work with Kurtzman Trek were involved with this. Don't work with Kurtzman Trek anymore. Okay. This was a team effort. Skywalker Sound mixed it. Paramount was involved. And it's a project to where they eventually want to do like a full episode of something. They're trying to get the technology right. They can have people talk now and using this technology. They put an example on that on Twitter, but like it was an artistic decision to not have people talk. And it was like, that's what carried it. It is pure raw emotion. If you are a Star Trek fan of any kind, this was your goodbye. This was essentially your goodbye to not just James T. Kirk and Spock, which we were robbed from because fuck Generations. I hate that movie. But if they put this at the end, I might like it a little more. But this is our goodbye to Star Trek. Like that's where it hit me. Matt, is like, this is my farewell. I'm still going to watch the old stuff, but thinking like we're going to get new Star Trek someday that's in the spirit, that dream is gone. And like, this can be your farewell. And, you know, I started thinking about like my dad's death and like you start, you know, and Drinker did one of his best videos on this. Absolutely. One of his best. Contrast by Anson Mount going out there and just doing and I just made a video called Hollywood, This Is Why You Lose. If this had come out before I finished recording the video, I would absolutely put this up as an example. Hollywood, this is why you lose. This is why you'll continue to lose. And this is why you're losing. Have your political beliefs. Nobody cares. When you get to, like, if you want to complain about Donald Trump's policy all day long, great. I would say draw the line at calling half the country pieces of shit or I don't know, even joking about coming after your children. That like, see how that worked out for the San Francisco men's choir. By the way, two of them, you know, are playground enthusiasts, we'll just say. Yeah, maps. So yeah. And that's why Star Trek is dead. That's why it is not even a subcategory on Paramount Plus. It's never turned a profit. Paramount Plus has never turned a profit. CBS All Access has never turned a profit. Paramount is billions of dollars in debt, yet they give this idiot Alex Kurtzman money. They keep doing it. This is why you lose, and you continue to lose. The fans have been right since day one, and you just got fucking embarrassed by essentially a 7-minute and 35-second silent movie that had de-aged. By the way, William Shatner returning, and he watched it on the bridge of the Enterprise. Did you get? I'm sure all of you guys saw that picture. He looked wrecked. You know, he looked sad, and like we were all wrecked at the end because I've watched it 15 times. I'll watch it 15 times more. And behind the scenes, people who can't say anything are applauding like crazy. They're like, yes, this is it. This is what we wanted. This is how you handle it. So Star Trek has inexplicably, accidentally, and against Kurtzman's wishes, done something that Star Wars couldn't. Amidst all this crap, they gave us a couple of little things that go, fans, we love you. And it's so simple. And it's so simple. People, people are calling it a fan film. Yes, except everybody involved had worked on Star Trek before. So I don't know. They're fans. They're certainly fans, but they also professionally worked on Star Trek, and they did a great job.
And Gary, I would like to officially put forth this concept of calling maps blue skyers going forward.
Okay, that's fine. We call it that. Like we can really push that, and that'd be YouTube safe. Blue skyers map.
Blue skyers.
Same thing, right?
Exactly the same thing. Yeah. You know, Dutch Butters, when I was watching this, and you famously on our review of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, when you were talking about the final goodbye between, you know, Kirk and Spock, I will always, you know, be your friend. You actually teared up. We have you on camera crying like a little baby.
Yeah, made me a little bitch. That's right.
And when I was watching Unification, and that moment when Spock reached out and grabs Kirk's hand,
so you got
kind of, yeah.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Yeah, you're right.
So you had a reaction to this. I want to hear about your reaction.
Well, my reaction wasn't as extreme as that. You know, that scene for some reason since I've been a kid. That scene in Wrath of Khan has always gotten me, even in the theater when I first saw it. And when we had watched it for the podcast, I hadn't seen it for a while, so it got to me, and there's a deep connection there, and for some reason that always gets to me, and I'm not still sure to this day of why it hit me so hard at that point, but it was interesting to see your guys' reaction to me being so emotional. This thing, I didn't know what this was. I got a link from somebody and they said, "Hey man, you got to check this out." And I'm like watching it, and I wasn't even really sure what was going on the first time I watched it through until the end. And I admit my chest got a little heavy, my gut got a little butterfly, and I got a little. I started getting a little wet in the eyeballs, but I swallowed it. I wasn't going to let myself get there this time, but man, it was close. It was close. There's something special about that relationship, that deep friendship between Spock and Captain Kirk. And the only thing that I think I would have liked to have seen at the end of this thing is maybe if Bones was standing there behind Kirk or something. That would have been like a nice little way to close out that trio of friends there. But yeah, this thing is amazing. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know they were making it. But in the end, all I can really do to everybody involved is just say thank you. Thank you for giving us kind of a bookend to put there on the original series, on that crew. You know what I mean? We did, because we didn't really have one, and now we do.
Mm-hmm.
So good on them. Good on them.
So, and doing Odin, it while William Shatner was still alive. Thank you for finally getting around to that.
Yep.
Yeah. And Shatner for agreeing to do it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have the best relationship with Paramount and no. Kurtzman. Good.
Or anyone for that matter. But,
he's such a cranky old man. He's a cranky old man on Twitter
93. Anymore. Just let him, like Ridley Scott with Gladiator 2. It's like, it was a mid movie. I'm not going to get mad. He's 86. He finished a movie. Holy crap.
He went to space. Yeah.
Our president can't finish a sentence. Our current president. So, and Ridley's 4 years older than Biden. So,
but Odin, I want to throw this to you. I know that you're not a big Star Wars guy, but I want to talk to you about, Star Trek. Thank you. I know you're not a big Star Trek guy, but I want to talk to you about how Hollywood deals with their fan base when it comes to this. So like Unification is such a beautiful love letter to real Star Trek fans. And then you have Anson Mount who's coming out. And I just want to show you some of the tweets he's been putting out. So like,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah. You have memo to Hollywood, stop alienating half your audience. And then Anson Mount's just like, fuck off. And then you have like, I lost 6,000 followers since the election. Let's keep it going, people. And off to blue sky with the rest of the whiny bitch celebrities, I'm guessing. And he says, if I did that, I wouldn't be able to brainwash your children into transgenderism and perform the delicate data mining operations that will allow us to steal the next election for AOC and then force you into slavery with all the other white people. Now, obviously, that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek stuff. Yeah, but the fact that he's like talking down to like his fans and like, these people who follow him and stuff like that, I feel like it's par for the course, because we see this time and time again with like Brie Larson and Rachel Zegler and like all these Hollywood celebrities who feel like the fans who made their careers are like beneath them. But even worse than that is like the studio thing, where it's like Paramount knows that Star Trek fans don't like what Kurtzman's doing, but they keep giving him carte blanche to do whatever the fuck he wants. So I want to know, Odin, why do you think Hollywood just hates their fans, hates their customers?
It's because they're brainwashed. I mean, there's no other way around it. They have gotten such, and a lot of it has to do with TDS. I mean, it's just very clearly that is the mental condition that they are dealing with. You have even Rob Reiner. Didn't he go off to like actually go to a mental institution like to check himself in for some help? And it's like maybe this is something that they all need to start thinking about, because they clearly have this derangement that they just cannot get past. Because everything you were mentioning reminded me of the interactions that you had with a well-known director, right, Mr. James Mangold, right? And he was someone that up until that interaction, I think most of us here were like, oh yeah, we kind of like, we like his work. Ford v Ferrari was a great film. Logan was also very solid too. And then he went off on that tangent in regards to the absolute worst Indiana Jones, and it's hard to even call it an Indiana Jones movie ever made. And it's just like, it seems like this mental illness that kind of impacts how they interact with their fans and interact with just general populations also impacts their movie making ability and their acting ability and so many other things. And I think that, yeah, it's something that honestly, the only thing that could ever possibly explain what it actually is that it's a mental illness. And so it's something that they cannot get past. It's something that they are, either by choice or because of something else going on, are not able to get past. And until they do, they're going to continue to drive fans away from all of their properties and all of the money that they could potentially be making. And, this, as you mentioned, I don't follow a lot of Star Trek. I've seen all of DS9, and I started watching the original series towards the end of last summer. And so next summer I'll be able to kind of pick it up. But it's honestly, it's just amazing that there are even as many people who hold on to their fandom after all of the nonsense that they have been pushed through.
It's a testament to how great the originals were. I mean, Star Wars, a great example, Star Trek, a great example. And ultimately it's very sad to see, but it's the woke mind virus, TDS. Trump broke Hollywood. Like, that is undeniable. You can see there's a line in entertainment. Sorry if I repeated myself, but I'm on a different show. There's a line where you can definitely see with certain shows where it shifted. Westworld is the best example of a show that was going one way and went completely off the rails after that time. Altered Carbon, Umbrella Academy, Legion at the time. There was a lot of good shows that had started out like 2012, 13, 14, even Game of Thrones. Post 2016, something changed. And at first we're like, what was it? Why did we give Arya all the kills in Game of Thrones? And like, people were denying it. Arya is not a Mary Sue. No, they turned her into a Mary Sue at the end. They did, at like 100%. And that's because of Harvey Weinstein and Trump. Harvey Weinstein and Trump basically broke Hollywood. Now, Tom will agree with me. Harvey Weinstein broke Hollywood a long time ago with all the Oscar shenanigans and all his movies winning Best Picture that shouldn't have won Best Picture.
English
flat
Patient
out.
Zero.
Oh my God. Don't get me started. But yeah, so they started like full on going into the intersectional feminism thing and the message, and then DEI followed shortly after. And it was all for the resistance. This was a resistance. That's the term they used. Hollywood is going to resist Trump. And what's funny is they're trying to build it up again, and there's no desire to resist Trump now. There's none in Hollywood. That's how bad things have gotten, because half the people are gone. Half the people are gone. I just did a video where for my videos, I read on average 20 articles, and maybe 1% of those articles make it in. But in multiple articles, I was a line producer. I was a Hollywood producer. Now I'm working at Whole Foods, and now I'm having trouble getting work in regular jobs because of my entertainment background. And they're like, oh, you might not be reliable, or you might be too problematic or political, using their terminology. And yes, this was in Hollywood Reporter. This was in Deadline. People are now, they can't get effing work because they worked in Hollywood in Los Angeles. That's how bad this brand has been hurt and destroyed. So yeah, keep it up. Keep it up. Like, you don't get half your audience back. Once people walk away quietly. That's the one thing I learned from owning a shop, was the customer that walks away quietly. It's like, well, that's the most perplexing, because they didn't tell me why. And I don't know. They could have moved. It could have been perfectly normal, but I want to know why a customer left. And Hollywood stopped wondering why customers left. And they're like, good, leave, just like Anson Mount. And wow, it must be nice to be in that position. Rachel Zegler did a video of like, just unfollow me, go away. I don't need your business. Hollywood needs our business. They're desperate for our business. So I know the bankers are now noticing, and they're like, people, will you shut the hell up? We're losing tons of money here. And it's kind of too late.
They're going to find out when the next season of Discovery, or not Discovery, but Strange New Worlds gets Discovery numbers, I guess is what I was going to say.
Oh, it will, because it's dumb. It's a dumb series. It's a really dumb series. It has like little teeny moments, and then it goes, but it's also given us singing Klingons, dude.
Didn't it make Spock autistic too?
Yes.
Yes.
He's dyslexic. He's dyslexic. He's got
Now
a
he's
foster.
Rain
Yeah,
Man.
and oh god, they do
very-
not understand Spock. Oh
It's
my
very,
god,
it's very emotional.
he's very
That's
emotional.
illogical.
Dutch, you pointed out that Spock's sister was strangely absent in that reunion and unification.
Right. It's like, where was she?
Yeah, where was the foster?
There was
sister?
that one character though that was from STD, that weird looking creature thing.
Yeah,
that
the
gave
one
him
that
the comlink
that can
thing.
travel through multiverses and time, right? And I was fine with that because it gave Kurt his back.
So I do have one little complaint about that reunification video, and it's in the credits. It's a really tiny little thing, but Matt really screwed me up before we went live today, because we were talking about some of the cast members on there, and I went through there and I started looking for the character named Sorak, and I'm like, who is this Sorak person? But then of course what it is they misspelled Sarek in the thing, the guy that was playing Spock's dad in that crowd scene. So it was
That wasn't Spock's dad.
It wasn't Spock's
Sorak.
dad?
That's Spock's son.
Is
That's
Sorak?
his son. Yeah.
Son.
Okay, well then I guess I'm the idiot, because I
It's okay.
thought this
Robert
was
Meyer Burnett. I figured it from the tell, but Robert Meyer Burnett gave us the context of Savick because of the Ponfar in Star Trek 3 had sex with Spock and had a kid, and it was supposed to be in Star Trek 4, and they cut it out.
Oh, so that was Spock's and Sarek's kid.
Yep.
That's
Sorak.
Spock and Savick's. No, he
Or
didn't have a kid with his
Savick's
son.
kids, too. Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
Spock's
Okay.
son, and that's like they give it away. Like William Shatner looks up and then he goes like that, and he's like, "Oh, that's Spock's son."
It's pretty obvious.
Well,
yeah.
that's kind of obvious. I thought it was just I
Well,
thought it was a homage to his dad.
Wasn't Spock underage when they did that? Little thing.
Technically, I mean, he was getting older every time, so maybe by the time they finished, he was of age.
Yeah.
All right. Just
I mean, it's Ponfar,
skirting in
so-
there. Yeah.
And, different culture, Matt. Okay, different culture, Mr. Kadish.
Yes.
This is true. I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Nerdrotic. I appreciate that.
Whatever.
Tom, I want to get back to this idea that Hollywood really hates its fans. And like Star Trek isn't the only franchise we've seen this with. Famously, like Ghostbusters was kind of the thing that started off. But Star Trek has been very hostile towards its fan base, and always to the detriment, right? It's just like the audience is telling you what they want. And then these franchises refuse to give it to them. And it's like, oh, we want more women, we want more people of color, we want all this, so we're going to just ignore like our core fans, and in fact vilify them and antagonize them and hurt them, right? And I'm just wondering, like, do you think that it's too late to fix this? Because it does seem to be that people are looking for alternatives to Hollywood. They're looking for stuff that is on YouTube and like independently made. And with the advent of AI, it's going to be easier to do Hollywood quality productions outside of the Hollywood system without the hundreds of millions of dollars necessary to do it. So what do you think is the next step for Hollywood if they want to remain relevant in terms of like dealing with their fan base?
Well, I mean, if anything about this unification short film or tone poem, whatever you want to call it, if anything about this comes about of any good, I hope it's that Paramount notices the reaction to it, because it has definitely gotten more of a reaction than anything since maybe Picard season 3. And even that was probably minimal compared to this, because you got a lot of people that are taking notice of this. And to me, like, I think the bigger thing is I think the way people are reacting to it says more about the state of the franchise than what it is itself. Because yes, it's a very emotional piece. It's very well put together. But somebody like me who knows a lot of the technical stuff, like, I'm looking at it going, yeah, this is cool, but if Star Trek was good right now, I wouldn't care about this. I would be just glad that we got good Star Trek, because this just reminds you, like Gary was kind of hitting on and such, of how bad Star Trek is right now. When something this simple can mean so much to people, when normally this would just be an also-ran or a special feature on a disc somewhere, right? Like, it wouldn't be anything that it is, right? Like, the amount of attention it's getting, I think, has to say more about the state of Star Trek than anything. And I mean, you know, when you got like the situation with Anson Mount, who was somebody who a lot of people championed before this, like, they weren't on board with Star Trek Discovery and a lot of the other stuff they were doing, but people liked Anson Mount as Pike. They did like him in that role, and he was one of the few highlights, and now he's sullied that. I mean, I went back, like, I used to like Jason Isaacs as an actor, and I had my run-ins with him early on in the Star Trek days, much like you did with Mangold, right? Him and what's his face, the gay guy on the show, the white guy. They were like going at it with us all on Twitter, and Isaacs was like, you know, if you have a problem at a restaurant, you don't scream at the chef. I'm like, yes, actually you do. I said, you tell the waiter that your food sucks, and he goes and tells the chef. I said, your problem right now is you just realize you're the waiter in this situation, and he blocked me. But you know, I think that's the problem, is they can't stand being the waiter in this situation, knowing that they have to carry the weight of how bad these shows are. If I was one of these actors, I would be wanting a better show too. Like, I wouldn't be bitching at the fans. I'd be going, what are you doing to this character that the fans don't like it? Right? Because that would be my reaction if I was an actor and somebody come up to me and said, I hate your character. Right? Unless I'm a villain, that shouldn't be the reaction they're having.
Yeah, but then your character would be getting shot out in airlock in the next episode.
Well, Henry Cavill left, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, they were doing that to The Witcher, and Henry Cavill was like, you know what?
Exactly.
I don't want to support this. I'm leaving.
And you're not
So-
going to get that too often, because usually that has to do with the paycheck, and not everybody's a Henry Cavill where they have the opportunities that he has right now. And I mean, look, I get it, but at the end of the day, do I think Hollywood will learn from this? Hopefully. Do I think it's going to change anytime soon? Maybe. I mean, we've already seen some changes. I don't know if Star Trek is ever going to be able to be salvaged,
Well,
though. It has more of a chance
no.
than Star Wars,
No.
but Star Trek was never such a big brand that it's going to ever matter on the grand scale. But yeah.
Yeah, like what's happening is we need more powerful people to stand up against it, and then it's
Right.
for one, Gene stood against it. There's actors who are out there, you know, but Stallone introduced Trump at Mar-a-Lago. He's going to get season.
He wouldn't have done that 4 years ago. Exactly.
No, he wouldn't have done that 4 years ago. He's doing it now. Nobody's canceling it. Nobody's gone out. And, like, as a matter of fact, Tulsa King's
They've
going to
tried.
get season 3 and 4. They're in the works.
He's
and they're
getting a hell of a deal. Did you see that? $1.5 million an episode.
Hell yeah. And he earned every penny of it. Every penny of it. Oh, God, season 2 was good. Woo.
I love
good.
that show. It's
So
one of my favorite shows right now.
Yep.
Well, guys, you know what else is good is super chats. We got
Yeah.
a $10 super chat from Blair to Blair. The Kirk short made me tear up, but then made me so angry seeing what they took from us.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
an
why
indictment.
we're getting the reaction. Yeah. It
Yep.
would be just like, oh, that's cool if it was like Star Trek was good right now. But
Yep.
since Star Trek is so shitty, that I think that's why people are having the reaction they are to this.
And then we got Foxhound for £4.99. See, I know British currency. All this new Trek, and no one at Paramount understands the power of something like unification. Paramount's always been stupid, like always. Ever since they got acquired by Redstone. I remember back in the day, Gary. I don't know if you remember this, but when they came out and basically put the kibosh on all fan fiction, the thing that had been keeping
Yes,
the franchise alive.
Oh, yeah. Midnight Edge covered it.
Star
Yeah,
Trek basically invented fan fiction and fan films. People
Yeah.
forget that crap. I mean, the term Mary Sue comes from Star Trek fan fiction. I
Yep.
mean, and Paramount were like the top of the mountain in the 80s. They were hard to beat. They had some of the biggest hits and the biggest stars working. You had Tom Cruise and Eddie Murphy at the same studio at that time, making all their movies, basically.
Yeah, basically, once Redstone took over, the entire company started being run by lawyers, and it's always been run by lawyers ever since. And it's just like they look at it from very dollars and cents standpoint. It's like, by creating your own fan fiction, you're robbing us of money, and therefore we don't want it. And there was that whole Axanar debacle a couple years ago where they raised like $1 million to make a fan film, and Paramount was like, "Oh, that's going too far." This is where real money
It
is
probably would have
involved.
helped if they finished the fan film. Axanar did F it up for a lot of people.
Well, that
Yeah.
was all, what's his face?
Alec Peters.
Alec
Yeah. Guy's a
But
psycho.
yeah, I just remember too that even they actually technically had all three of the top stars of the 80s, if you count Harrison Ford, since he made most of his films at Paramount. But the only reason I think I bring up Harrison Ford is if you take away the Indiana Jones trilogy and the Star Wars films that came out in the 80s, that's the only reason he's in the top. He's the top earning star of the 80s. That's why. But otherwise, it's Eddie Murphy and Tom Cruise, hands down.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
No,
we got-
Paramount was great. Great at producing television too.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but when I worked in Hollywood, I actually worked at Paramount. So
There you go.
Had some
I've
in-
toured the studio.
I used to give tours of the studio, so there you go.
I went on a tour there once. Yeah.
Yes. Lego for $5. Hi, everyone. Do you think the damage Hollywood has done is permanent? I can't get myself to care about a lot of movies nowadays. Thank you.
Yes. The answer is an emphatic yes. The brand damage is permanent. And the Hollywood that we knew is dead. That's not hyperbolic. Sorry.
We're basically in the 60s again. Yes.
We're in a brand new era of Hollywood. So what you're seeing is completely new because their system is broken. It's broken and they cannot go. They're going to try to go back, but Matt brought it up earlier. This platform right here, aside from live sports, this YouTube thing is the go-to place for advertisers now. Well, a long way from the adpocalypse. And this is what YouTube should have done many years ago during the adpocalypse is, it's a crude term, but whip their dick out on the table and go, we're YouTube. We'll charge whatever the fuck we want for ads. And you should thank us because we can put more ads than broadcast television every day. Dude, they can put more ads on broadcast television within a couple of hours on one day. So like the power of YouTube and advertising, and now like all the streamers are like, oh, I want ad tiers, and it's helping in some cases, and it's not in others. So
it's basically taking them back to cable though, which was my point
earlier.
Well,
you're right. I mean, what's going to happen is we're going to have some a la carte. Well, it's already happening. Like I can go to Amazon Prime now and watch my Paramount Plus and my Max on Amazon Prime. Yeah. I just watch them there. We're going to get ads on everything, whether we like it or not. That's what's happening eventually, because this will top out. There's only so many people in the world who can stream, and they're starting to reach that peak. That's why they've stopped reporting subscribers. Netflix is going to stop reporting subscribers. Prime is going to stop reporting gaining subscribers because they can't gain anymore. They've kind of topped out, and what they're going to have to do is talk about profits and actually making money and probably share some views. Like actual, like what customer data for if they want advertisers in, that's when we'll start getting like numbers, like real numbers.
Yeah, it's like the chat says, it's cable TV all over again.
Yes, it is.
That's why it'll be more expensive with Nielsen now or whatever, just because of the ads and stuff like that. No, you guys,
I wish there was. I mean, there's some ways to make it not so annoying. Like last night, I was watching a movie on, I think it was Prime, and and they have that little 3-minute block before you start your movie. Here's your ads, and then it's done. It's over with. You don't have to watch them anymore, and you can watch your whole movie without being interrupted. But if you go over to like Hulu or Disney Plus or something like that, they insert those ads every 15, 20 minutes to the movie. It's the most annoying fucking thing in the world, man.
You read the fine print on that ad-free tier. It's just for certain stuff. It's not for everything. So you pay, and the ad-free tier is like $100 a month. That's cable.
Yeah, it's cable.
Well, that was kind of the point I was getting back around to, is how long before people realized, wait a minute, I was getting all this shit for half the price with cable. Mm-hmm. And what the cable companies and the studios gave up in that process is they gave up their exclusivity. Because what was the biggest problem with cables? You try to cancel your cable subscription or your Dish Network or your DirecTV, good fucking luck, because they'll remind you that you're stuck into a 2-year contract, and if you want out, you're gonna have to pay for that contract now. So you're stuck in it no matter what you do. With streaming, this is what people have figured out. They can watch Netflix 1 month, dump it, watch Paramount Plus the next month, dump it, watch something else the next month, dump it, and just keep doing that for months and months and months. And that's what people have done. And this is not going to be sustainable. And they even had that one person at that one Disney share call when he asked, like, what are you guys going to do? Because there's only so many customers once you hit a cap. That's it. Like, where's the profit in that? And they couldn't even answer that. They're like, well, I would,
No, the thing is, like, it wasn't smart to go all in on streaming. I mean, ultimately, everybody thought it would be great, and it wasn't smart, but they're so all in, they can't go back. It's impossible. They killed
5 revenue streams because
they killed, and they might be able to get the ad revenue stream back, like that one and the licensing one back, but the cable infrastructure, no way. It's done. It's cooked.
Network is gone. Theatricals,
network is gone.
And what's interesting about this conversation is, like, YouTube, they are making a play to replace cable, right? Like 60% of American households watch their TV on YouTube now instead of cable. And they're really going hard for what they're calling the living room experience, because they're going to be rolling out the ability to basically categorize videos into seasons and then episode orders. So they're moving to more Netflix-like structure that YouTubers can then use to basically create entire seasons of content.
They've trained people to watch longer content. YouTube is the one place that fully integrates live streaming and videos. What you notice about like Rumble's going to be a competition and kicking it. Rumble is a streaming platform. It is not a video platform. You can put videos on there, but their algorithm is not built for it to be discoverable. So until that happens, we don't have any real competition because people still watch the videos. I started doing, and listen, I copied the freaking idea from the Y-Files, the Great Y-Files channel. I started doing supercuts. I did one for the Rings of Power season 1, and dude, I got so much good feedback about that. And it's 2 hours of my reviews. And I've started watching, like, if I was at home right now, I'd be watching this live stream in my home theater. So that transition to the home theaters was huge for YouTube. Absolutely huge. And it's a transition. And the chat's pretty good. It's pretty navigable and it works. It needs some improvements, but like now people are getting used to watching live streams in their home theater. And that was where YouTube like really started taking over. So
yeah, and it's like watching QVC or listening to talk radio or something
exactly.
like that.
Exactly.
We've already taken over talk radio, and basically we learned during the election that we now have taken over the news. We are basically the 24-hour news cycle now. And I don't mean just us personally, but I mean all of us as a collective. Sorry.
I was just saying every once in a while I'll get a DM or something in Discord or on Twitter. So, hey man, I'm watching you on my giant 70-inch TV. And they take a picture and they show us up there, and it's always really super weird to me to see that, but because I'm used to seeing us on the computer. But
most people still watch on a phone, I think, for videos. But the numbers go up every year of people watching in the home theater to the point where
you can listen as a podcast now. Like when you listen to that more long form podcast, like for me, I've been trying to use more Rumble just to give them, a bit more support. But there's some hiccups there too. But yeah, I have it on the background, have the screen off, and that's how a lot of people I think probably consume it.
Guys, real quick, we got 2 more super chats I need to get to, and I can't bring this one up because it'll get us demonetized. But there's a gentleman named Arnold who gave us $2.99 Australian. He says 5 straight black guys live. Hollywood could never do it. Probably not. Then we got Goodwrench for $10. I really think people are fed up with the pessimism from Hollywood. Star Trek are stories of hope and a better future, and the current crop of writers can't see past themselves or modern issues to make it that way. I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about Star Wars and about how it's such a simple morality tale. It's good versus evil. It's a coming of age tale. It's a young boy's journey into manhood to save his father. Just very universal concepts that like we generationally, like the people on this panel, grew up with and internalized and loved and carried that with us into adulthood. And Disney's denying that to the current generation of children out there that Star Wars should be speaking to. They're trying to make it gray and complicated and Game of Thronesy, and it's not. At its core, it's supposed to be a very simple, easy to understand morality tale that teaches people how to become truly good members of society. That just pissed me off when I thought about it that way.
Yeah. I mean, we need more like the pessimism, the nihilism we've gotten from that's injected in everything, is particularly Star Trek. Okay, that's where Kurtzman completely misunderstood it. It's Star Trek is bright. Star Trek is inspirational, and that's why it lasted so long. Doctor Who was inspirational. Star Wars was inspirational. Tolkien is inspirational. It's really easy to write dark. It's really easy to riff on stuff and make a Watchmen or even basically a Song of Ice and Fire, arguably,
especially
could be
the
Watchmen of the Lord of the Rings, which I like. I mean, I like this stuff, but it's very difficult to write. How many writers say you can't write Superman? He's a Boy Scout. Bullshit. No, you can't write Superman because you're not talented enough to write Superman. Right. That's it. It's harder to be inspirational. And that's why those stories have lasted, and people just got sick of seeing them deconstructed. And this franchise, like Doctor Who, used to have the most greatest fandom, like just happy all the fucking time. They were happy. They got along. Nobody fought about anything really in Doctor Who. They might over their favorite Doctor. That was it. And it was all demographics, so like Harry Potter is now, and they destroyed it. And now everybody hates it. Now even the holdovers hate it because they turned it into hateful content and not I'm not going to say it's high art, but inspirational entertainment. That's what it used to be, and now it's hateful content towards the people who made it.
It's more
what
like
it is.
DEI, like it's not even so much the deconstruction of the things that we're watching, because it's like everything is dark and dour now, right? Like that's the thing. It's just like it's kind of like DEI has made it all dark and dour. It's like you have to deal with all this stuff. But even on an aesthetic level of Star Trek, it's like I don't understand why they haven't leaned into the retrofuturism yet. I do feel like that's the thing that's on the rise next, as far as like what's gonna. I feel like
I love the style of that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like, it's like a step up from steampunk, right? Steampunk
exactly.
was very popular.
It's its own thing now. Yeah.
Retrofuturism is very cool. A lot of people are having fun with that in the
So,
AI
like,
realm.
Is that
Yeah.
like what they do on that League of Legends cartoon? That's
Kind of. That's steampunk.
Arcane.
That's it. Yeah, Arcane is steampunkish.
Retrofuturism is basically Star Trek, right?
Yeah,
Like Star
okay.
Trek is kind of the invention of that. It's,
yeah, like Fantastic
in
Four is going to be
hindsight.
retrofuturism, so it's going to be a futuristic 1960s. That's going to be the aesthetic
Yes.
for first steps. Yeah.
Or
Nice.
like Flash Gordon is another example
Yes.
of kind of a retrofuturism. Yes.